When you get to the later rounds of your fantasy draft, forget playing it safe. That's not going to help you. There are guys out there that could help you win your league at running back. But who are they? All right, who's the first RB that comes to mind when you think league winning upside late?
I really think Khalil Herbert has league winning upside because it looks like this job is his. Week 1 preseason, 7 snaps for the starters. Khalil Herbert was the only running back that played with the starters. Week 2 preseason, Justin Fields and the starters didn't play. Every other running back played except Khalil Herbert. Foreman played, Rashawn Johnson played. That shows me they view Khalil Herbert as the clear number 1 starting running back in this offense. He's a great runner. He's an explosive runner. 5.7 yards per carry last year. He's a bulldozer by the goal line. He has touchdown upside. He may not catch a zillion passes. That's not really his game. But where you're drafting him here, a lead back in a good offense like this, tremendous league winning upside.
I've been talking up this running back for a while throughout the offseason, but what we just saw in a preseason game, that's right, preseason, it just solidifies this pick for me. Brian Robinson, we knew was technically the RB1 in Washington, but a lot of people think Antonio Gibson is going to eat into his production because, well, he's just a better receiver because he actually was a receiver in college, and that's his natural role. But Brian Robinson against Baltimore not only was the lead runner, but he caught 4 passes in just the first half. So I think it's pretty clear that Robinson is capable of catching a ball with his hands and that they're going to use him that way. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to outproduce Gibson as a receiver, but that doesn't matter. He's already going to be the lead rusher. He's probably going to be the guy who's featured in the red zone the most. And if he actually catches some passes, I mean, even if it's just 30 to 40, you have a guy who has a chance to be a top 15 running back, and you can get him in the mid to late rounds of your drafts. And there's always upside for more because, Gibson tends to get banged up. And you know what? I actually think this Washington offense could surprise some people. So I'm all over Robinson. All right, who else do you have in mind?
Yeah, I think you have to draft Khalil Herbert in these late rounds. I think you also have to draft Zach Charbonnet in these late rounds. He's a perfect kind of handcuff to get because he's going to catch a decent amount of passes, had a 92nd percentile college target share. So he's going to be a good pass catcher in this offense. He also was a great runner in college, 7 yards per carry in college. He has the size to handle the early down work. Obviously, Kenneth Walker is a starter here, but should something happen to Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet walks into a 3-down role, every down role as a league-winning running back. And even with Kenneth Walker in the lineup, he's still going to have enough value in the passing game, potential for a touchdown every now and then, potentially rack up some yards on the ground. Charbonnet, another guy going in the late rounds, completely forgotten, who has true league-winning upside if Kenneth Walker misses any time this year.
Talk about a guy who was completely forgotten. There's no denying last year, A.J. Dillon was a dud. I mean, just didn't do anything. He was dropped everywhere, and rightly so, in fantasy leagues. And then toward the very end of the season, all of a sudden, started catching on. And that's because they actually gave him the ball. It's one of those things, honestly, I have no explanation. I don't think I've heard or seen any sort of explanation of why they just did not use him. Throughout the entire first half, I think maybe the first 10 games of the season, he just barely touched the ball. And then when he did, he wasn't that effective. But it's kind of hard, to get steam going when you only touch the ball maybe 3 times. I don't understand why the guy who should have been such a big part of the offense just wasn't on the field. And then when he actually got some usage, he was pretty good. I mean, he's the bigger back between him and Aaron Jones. They're both good running backs. But this year, they're going to finally give him a chance. Jordan Love looks pretty good. I think this offense will be fine. But they're going to lean on the running game more, and that works in his favor. And don't forget the all-important contract year. Just saying, A.J. Dillon, we might see him run harder than ever. All right, who else has got that massive upside around this range?
Yeah, we love Bijan Robinson, but that doesn't mean you should just completely ignore Tyler Allgeier in your later rounds because he's a premium handcuff in fantasy, and he's another guy that probably will have some decent value, especially when they play really bad run defenses. We saw last year, in this offense, behind this offensive line, he was highly efficient. There's no reason that's going to change. Like, yes, he's not going to get as many touches now because Bijan Robinson is there, but he's going to get enough. This is still going to be an offense. Even though they're going to throw the ball more, they're not going to be one of the pass-heaviest offenses. They'll still lean on the running game. They'll still use these running backs. Aljiro probably gets somewhere between 8 to 12 carries a game, depending on the week, depending on game script. And against soft defenses, bad run defenses, that's enough for him to give you 50, 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, depending on the week, which gives him flex value when you need him in like during a bye week or in a pinch. But obviously, heaven forbid, if something happens to Bijan Robinson, let's pray it doesn't, then we know what Tyler Allgeier is. He's an every week must-start running back. So when you're getting him this late, well outside the top 100 picks, even though Bijan Robinson is going to smash and win leagues, still draft Tyler Allgeier.
Well, here's another RB that's more than a handcuff. I can't remember when exactly I started saying, I really like this Tank Bigsby guy. I'm pretty sure it was well before the NFL draft went down. He's somebody that, I just really liked what I saw. I think the Jaguars like what they see too, because all we hear is Tank hype. And I'm glad I have some pieces of him in dynasty leagues. I hope I get enough of him in my redraft leagues this year. I definitely have a ton in best ball. Tank is not just the backup to Travis Etienne. I mean, this is a guy who is already smashing in training camp and preseason, and he just keeps getting praise from his coaches, the players. This guy is not just going to be a backup, a complimentary back. I mean, it honestly wouldn't shock me if he's just as effective as Etienne. I know Etienne will get first run, but Tank is every bit as good. I mean, he doesn't have the name value of an Etienne, but trust me, this guy will be involved, and the Jaguars are going to be a pretty good offense, I think, behind their running game and Trevor Lawrence in his third year. Not done yet. We got plenty more running backs to talk about, but first, we have some news to share.
FlockFantasy.com/endgame is the ultimate cheat code for your fantasy football season. Put your fantasy football skills to the test by playing redraft against myself and Pierre. Battle us to try to take home cash prizes. And you can ace your draft like a pro with our exclusive video draft course to help you dominate your fantasy drafts. Gain the edge with our top-notch draft rankings plus our weekly in-season rankings. And get access to our secret knowledge with our bonus articles and videos that you cannot find anywhere else. And as a special bonus, you can show off your fantasy skills in style by wearing one of our classy Endgame t-shirts for free just by being a member. Sign up now at flockfantasy.com/endgame and get an amazing 30% off your subscription.
All right, let's keep it going. Give me another RB you like.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about Jerome Ford because he hasn't played this preseason dealing with an injury. But don't forget about Jerome Ford. I mean, I know all the hype is with Nick Chubb right now. He's going to get 100% of the touches. He's going to catch all the passes. The wide receivers aren't even going to touch the ball. It's just going to be the Nick Chubb offense. But Jerome Ford is going to have a role in this offense. I could see him being in that Kareem Hunt role. And maybe that's not a big role this year if Nick Chubb is healthy. But don't forget, Nick Chubb missed games each of the 2 years prior to last year. Now he's coming off a year where he didn't miss a game, went well over 300 touches. It's not like he's not a risk for injury. He's at the 1,500 touch mark. He's up there in age. And if he goes down, Jerome Ford likely stepping into the lead role. And even if Jerome Ford isn't ready for week 1, it doesn't matter. You're not drafting Jerome Ford for week 1. He's a handcuff. He's a high upside handcuff because we've seen when handcuffs come in this offense, they're great. When even Dearness Johnson was great when he was in this offense. So Jerome Ford has pretty much been forgotten in every fantasy draft because he hasn't done anything this preseason. But he's going to be back, and he's a premium handcuff to Nick Chubb. Make sure you get him.
Well, I've got a pretty similar player in mind. Same division. When you think of the running back situation in Pittsburgh, it's just Najee Harris. But if you pay attention, Jaylen Warren looks every bit as good, to be honest. Some people think he's maybe even better. Got a little bit more burst. We saw that in a 40-yard touchdown run in the preseason. People have been talking about him since last season, but we knew he really wasn't going to be more than just number 2 running back. It's still Najee's role. I think that is true, but we're starting to hear whispers. Maybe Warren does get more involved. And you know what? I hate to say it. I'm still high on Najee, but I'm starting to realize that maybe he isn't going to be quite the elite talent we expected when he first came into the league. I mean, Najee is still going to soak up most of the touches in that backfield, but I think Warren gets involved enough that he might even have standalone value and be more than a handcuff. So keep your eye on Warren in PPR leagues. He's going to give you at least somewhat of a floor. And look, if Najee goes down, he's probably going to be one of the top pickups in all of fantasy. We're not done yet, Chris. Another running back with tremendous upside.
Yeah, speaking of if lead running back goes down, if Derrick Henry goes down, Taiji Spears is 100% going to win leagues. This guy has the talent. The only issue with him coming out of the draft was he didn't have a knee, right? No ACL, no cartilage, but he put up prolific numbers. He's a fast running back, and he's shown it in preseason so far when given the chance. Man, he's got serious burst, serious speed. This guy can play. And the only reason I'm not higher on him, especially in Dynasty, well, is number one, he got drafted to the Titans behind Derrick Henry, but number two, the knee. But look, I talk about Nick Chubb potentially missing games. I know everybody thinks Derrick Henry is inhuman and will never get hurt, even though he missed half a season just 2 years ago. But Derrick Henry is a 29-year-old running back with almost 2,000 touches, and they're not easy 2,000 touches. They're like painful, pounding 2,000 touches. So much wear and tear on his body. To sit here and think that Derrick Henry is a lock to play 17 games is absolutely crazy. If he misses any games this year, it's Taiji Spears. There is nobody else in this backfield to even worry about. Taiji Spears, one of the premium handcuffs. He's a rookie. He's explosive. We see these rookie running backs all the time late in the season help people win leagues. That could be Spears this year.
All right, then let me go with a guy mentioned before. And you know what? This might blow up in my face if the Dolphins somehow wind up with Jonathan Taylor a few days from now. See if that happens. If not, this backfield, it's going to be led by Devonta Shane. Now, Mostert and Wilson will still be in the mix, but you talk about a guy with speed and burst and breakaway ability. I don't know if there's any running back that's really as fast as a Shane in the open field. Now, he might not be ready to take on a pounding of a full workload, but when you have a guy who can rip off these long runs, you don't need that. And of course, we're talking about late round guys with huge upside. He has that. That's exactly what he has. You know, this is a type of offense that relies on its efficiency, moving the ball. They don't want to just kind of like drag the chains along play by play. It's about big plays down the field, stretching it with these receivers and quick hitters from the running backs. Shane is there for a reason. He's the lightning in that backfield, and that's what I want. Lightning in a bottle. Give me that guy I can throw in my lineup, and he rips off a 50-yard touchdown run. He gives me a few catches. Shane's kind of a do-it-all back. He doesn't need the volume, and I think he's still worth his draft status. Those are the running backs you can grab late to help you win. But who are you prioritizing early? That could be the number one running back in fantasy. Find out.